Kristaps Porzingis is not just the right player for the Celtics. He is the white player for the Celtics. Let me tell you what I mean by that. You take the demographic of Boston, Massachusetts. You get a place that is 64% white, is the third most densely populated in the state in the union, with its 5 most notable ancestries: Irish, Italian, French, English, German. I want you to think about something here. When you think of the Boston Celtics, who are their most notable players? Think about this. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale. I'll throw Paul Pierce in there. Havlicek, Kuzi. I'd make the argument that the most notable players are white players. Everyone's immediately going to sit there and think, oh, well, what about Bill Russell? Bill Russell is more associated with 11 championships than he is the Boston Celtics. What do I mean by that? It's when you think of Bill Russell, you're not always thinking, oh, yeah, Celtics. That's not the first thing you identify him with. You always identify him with is, hey, he won 11 championships. Larry Bird is more identified with the Celtics. Kevin McHale is more identified with the Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis, it works being a white guy in Boston, Massachusetts. It does. I did some, not even research. I was told by an elderly man that, do you know what they used to call the cheap seats in Boston Garden? They call it nigger heaven. They still do, if everyone knows any kind of how old people are and everyone's got that racist uncle that they love, that is still a common name for those seats, and there's still a common mindset. Let's look at the Patriots for a second. Who did they just win a Super Bowl with? Let's look at the receivers here real quick. Wide receivers become kind of a dominantly black position in the NFL. Edelman, Hogan, Amendola, and Gronk, even though he got injured. White guys. Take even from the perspective of marketing, whose jerseys sell well? Guys in the right market. Not just who's the best, but guys in the right market. You get Steph in Golden State, who's the number 1 selling jersey. You get Silicon Valley, progressive, the kind of characteristics that are, they're him. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's not just the baddest guy, but he is the new way of playing basketball, the new way of living life. He works in that market beautifully, and that's why his jersey sells so much. You get LeBron. He's in Cleveland. That's the hometown kid. That's the guy who's been in that culture since he was a baby. You have Durant, once again, in Golden State. I made the video a couple weeks ago about what was the decision, or what was behind the decision of getting Kevin Durant. That was big business buying out little business. Once again, Silicon Valley. Google. Gotta love Google. You take 7'3". Let's just take this for an example, and I think most of you will understand this or have seen this before. You get the guy who is basically David versus Goliath in the sense that the NBA is, I think it's around like 80 to 85% black players at this point, and you get the one white guy who can play with all of them, and is just as good as any of them. You know, if you watch the Larry Magic, the especially on ESPN a couple weeks ago, race was a huge thing in excuse me. Race played a huge factor in that. You had Black Magic Johnson in 80s LA, which was predominantly, which at the time, between NWA gangs, just the culture of LA was more affiliated with black people. You get Boston, Massachusetts, who, I don't have the numbers from back then, but I'm willing to bet if they're 64% now, or even more so back then. So the fact they had a white superstar versus the black superstar, apologize, I keep coughing left and right here. Factor in demographic, factor in the player, because the guy can play. I'm not here to sit there and say that he can't play. I think the Knicks should be absolutely crazy to get rid of him to begin with. Demographic, the player, you take the style of play, you take the fan base, just the history of the organization. That's the guy they need to go out and get.